Hi, my name is Natalie Tierce, and I'm making this video to share my process on how I prepare my textured canvases. I've had a few inquiries about where to get them, and although I buy some of my canvases pre-stretched, the actual texture that I work on with oil pastels is prepared by myself, and that's what this video is about. So what I've prepared is I've put a tarpaulin on the floor so I don't completely trash my studio floor. And I've put down the canvas, which I'll show you in a minute, and I'm gonna roll that up with a 6-inch weenie roller and some white gesso. Gesso you can also buy in black. If you want to work on a particular color ground, I can suggest that as you're gonna paint over it, before you really start doing your proper work, you could use either or and then give it a coat of whatever ground color acrylic paint you want to use as your base. So I'm going to turn the camera around, and here you can see my canvas. This one in particular is 36 by 48. It's stretched, already pre-gessoed. There's no reason why you can't get your own stretchers, stretch it, and start with a canvas that has no gesso on it. That's perfectly fine. This is just a way to go. So I'll get the weenie roller and start rolling up. So what I'm going to do is take a tray with white gesso and roll up this way, get an even coverage on the roller, and start laying the gesso down on the canvas. I'm going to apply it fairly heavily. And I do this so that the walnut, crushed walnut, or whatever else you'd like to use for texture, and that can be sand, that can be coffee. It depends on how fine or coarse you want that texture to be. For this demonstration, I'll be using a combination of coarse and medium walnut. You roll that on nice and thick, just like that. When you get the whole canvas covered, some bits of stuff that I don't want in there, but not crucial. Again, when you're rolling up, you want to do a sort of loose figure 8 pattern. And by doing this, you disguise any obvious roller marks. The idea is to even out the texture on the canvas. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, it looks like there's a good amount everywhere. So what I'm going to start to do is I've got a bag of, this is fine walnut. You can see that there. I'm going to start with the coarse. Put that up to the camera. That is coarse walnut. And I'm going to start putting it out on the canvas. It's out of here. And lightly just sprinkle it around. And cover the whole thing up. And like I said before, you can just use the coarse. It depends on your taste or what you're looking for. This will be a rougher surface. And you just keep going until the whole thing is covered. Afterwards, when it's covered, we're going to lock this in with another coat And that can be regular acrylic or it can be another coat of gesso. And there's no reason why you can't build on that. So if whatever you're left with is not quite as textured as you'd like, you can most certainly go back, re-gesso, and throw on the same grade or a different grade of crushed walnut. I just wanted to get a close-up of how you can actually fill in the blanks by almost overdoing it by loading up the walnut. And the nice thing is that you can tap it and get the excess to move down so that in the end you'll get everything covered if that's what you're looking for. It can be, it can also be a more random look, and that's not a problem. It's just leaving what's called holidays so that it's not completely covered. So here we have it. This is the canvas completely covered in walnut. Close into that. You can see how the texture is more or less covering the complete canvas. There's some edging that I don't mind, actually. I don't mind that it's not completely going to the edge, but that's something that could be fixed by a little bit more gesso and more walnut. So this gray paint that I'm going to use to put the base color onto the surface is going to pick up a lot of the walnut grain, a lot of the crushed walnut. And that's fine. You may want to keep it separate because it's, unless you sift the paint, it's going to be mixed up with walnut, crushed walnut bits. So I have a weenie roller again, and I'm just going to roll up like this. And you want to get a long-haired nap roller so that you really get inside the texture and you completely cover the surface with whatever your base color is going to be. It's better to go smooth and steady, slowly. That way you don't tear up the surface and rip up any loose walnut. It's better just to go in small, short strokes. And then what happens is the paint locks down the outer surface of the canvas with the walnut. You can even pour directly onto the canvas and roll it out from there. That's a little quicker. But this does use up quite a lot of paint. The surface is very thirsty, and you'll find that it'll take about 3 times as much as you normally would use to roll up a canvas this size normally. In fact, I think I've shorted myself on this color. I don't think I mixed up quite enough, but we might just make it. So now it's dried overnight. My canvas is ready to go. I'm going to show it to you. I prepped it with the gesso, threw the walnut on, let that dry, went over it with the gray base color, and for demonstration purposes, I had thinned it down, and afterwards I felt like it needed another coat for just really locking it in. So the canvas you're going to see actually has a couple of layers of gray paint on it. And again, when you're experimenting with this process, you can decide how thick or thin you want to use the paint, and then afterwards gauge if you think that the texture is really locked in properly. Another thing to remember is after you've actually worked on it, if you don't feel that the texture is stable enough, you can always clear coat it, and I'll save that for another video. But for now, I want to show you what the result is and what it looks like after it's been painted. Okay, this is a canvas that I finished using a similar ground with mixed media. I prepared the canvas a little differently. I started with gesso, and then instead of being consistent with the texture we used a coarse walnut all over. I mixed it up between coarse and fine and sand, and if we're getting a little bit to the piece, we can see the variation on how pitted it gets versus a softer, grainier quality. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and please feel free to post questions or comments below and subscribe. I will be making another video. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.